This is WGBR News, Goldsboro's very own.
49 degrees, cloudy skies. Good afternoon. This is Wayne Alley with the 12 o'clock edition of WGBR News. Homeowners and businesses on Imperial Drive in Goldsboro have been assured by State Department of Transportation officials that it's not intended to close Imperial Drive when they build an overpass on Spence Avenue across Highway 70. One businessman said, "We're just happy they're not going to close it." A speed ramp will be built to come off Highway 70 down by Walmart to give motorists access off Spence Avenue. It will come down to 70 going east. Property owners were told the anxiety or concern is that motorists merging and turning off at the same time posed somewhat of a hazard. That's the reason for the decision. Frank Tillman of Fremont Motors said everyone favored moving the access road to a service road a quarter of a mile away, and all were happy they're going to continue to have access at the new location between the Mazda dealership and the Irish Inn. Construction of the overpass on Spence Avenue across Highway 70 is scheduled to begin by this fall. Well, it required about 8 hours for 13 Wayne County fire departments and 3 fire departments from Wilson County to get a burning pile of tires covering the equivalent of a city block under control. They contained that fire about midnight and decided to let it burn out while firemen remained on the scene throughout the night. Seymour Johnson and Goldsboro fire departments helped battle that fire on property of Buck Newsom on Buck Newsom Road near the northern Wayne County line. Firemen said there was no damage from that fire and the cause is still undetermined. Wayne Sheriff's officers responded to Highway 222 North yesterday in response to a break-in in progress and found property owner James Williams detaining 2 suspects. 18-year-old Jimmy Earl Ellis of Wilson and 25-year-old Jesse Ray Whitted of Route 3 Wilson were charged with breaking, entering, and larceny and placed under $10,000 bonds. Williams told officers he noticed a small white car backed up to his garage as he was returning home. When he approached the 2 suspects, they told him they'd put the stuff back. Well, Mike Gurley stayed with the suspects while Williams checked out his house and barns and got the assistance of deputies. Congressman Martin Lancaster was pleased with the emphasis the president placed on making homes and streets safe from crime and delivering his State of the Union message.
With that emphasis on greater punishment and his endorsement of the 3 strikes and you're out concept, which I've co-sponsored, I have real hope that it will be enacted into law. Persons convicted of 3 violent offenses have no business being on the street. A life sentence without parole is too good for them.
The congressman also was pleased that the president promoted his program of providing 100,000 police officers to deter the violence in our neighborhoods with his Cop on the Beat program.
This program will calm the fears of the elderly, the young, the vulnerable, and will help restore to peace-loving, law-abiding Americans their freedom to move about in their own communities that have been taken over by thugs.
Congressman Martin Lancaster. The study of materials stored at Security Mayflower, prompted by city council members because of rumors, is about completed. Goldsboro City Planner Gene Thomas indicates they found nothing of a hazardous nature.
The information that I have obtained, Bill, indicates that the storage at the security facility is basically agricultural chemicals. It's a distribution center for your major chemical manufacturers. There are no radioactive materials stored. There was no mention made of any explosive type of materials.
Goldsboro City Planner Gene Thomas. Goldsboro Police Officer Philip Oxendine resigned from the police department this morning following his arrest on 2 counts of obtaining a controlled substance by way of a forged prescription. Oxendine's been on administrative duty with pay while the SBI investigated the allegation. Oxendine had been on the police force more than 5 years. Wayne County Beautiful Coordinator Caroline Parker and Downtown Goldsboro Development Director Meg Klutz are about to crank up the downtown cleanup. They'll start next week going door to door soliciting building owners and merchants to participate. And those who do participate will get a red apple decal in their windows. The effort's being referred to as being a good apple. And Mrs. Parker hopes there'll be nothing but good apples downtown when the cleanup is completed. Meanwhile, Parker's looking for volunteers to serve on the Keep Wayne County Beautiful Board of Directors. Ms. Parker can be reached at 731-1600, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Coming up on 5 minutes after 12 for WGBR News, I'm Wayne Alley.
From shiver to sizzle, winter to summer, Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Motor Oil can give you hot-cold protection and everything in between. Inside your car's engine, the temperature can go from winter to scorching summer in minutes. That's the protection Phillips 66 Trop Arctic is engineered for. Just look for Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Motor Oil in the classic gold bottle. Hot-cold protection and everything in between. Available at a Phillips 66 station near you. Phillips 66 products distributed by Griffin Oil Company, 511 South John Street, Goldsboro.
Jazz it up with a program car from Leith Chrysler Plymouth, Jeep Eagle Dodge Isuzu. Low prices on 93 Dodge Shadow and Plymouth Sundance, $86.95. 93 Plymouth Acclaim and Dodge Spirit, $88.95. Save big now on 93 Dodge Caravan SE only, $15,895. 93 Dodge 15-passenger vans, only $18,795. And now's the time to save on 93 Dodge Dynasty, $11,895. All prices plus tax tags and 138 dock fee. Leith Chrysler Plymouth, Jeep Eagle Dodge Isuzu, Highway 70 West, Goldsboro.
Cloudy skies and occasional drizzle in the forecast for today. A little bit of freezing drizzle toward the North Carolina-Virginia border, but it'll just freeze on objects above the ground, not on the roads. Highs there near 40. Southern counties will be as warm as 60 in places like Lumberton and Tabor City. A big range of temperatures throughout the area. Cloudy and drizzly tonight, lows in the mid-40s to near 50. Mostly cloudy, periods of rain tomorrow, and breezy with highs in the 60s. I'm Bill Schmidt at the Weather Center.
Now, more broadcast excellence on 1150 WGBR.
Boy, oh boy, did we hit pay dirt today. The lottery has been won by me. The ship has come in. I told you people, and I have been telling you for the longest time, keep a sharp eye on the investigation into the death of Vince Foster. I told you that for the longest time I had been hearing stories, reports, rumors that heretofore were unconfirmed, and so I was not going to run with them. Many of them have shown up in a published report today. I have details coming up.
This is a special edition of the Rush Limbaugh program, America Held Hostage. And now, from our studios in New York City, here is Rush Limbaugh.
Counting the days of the raw deal, the Clinton presidency, it's day 373 today for the poor and the middle class, day 392 for the rich and the dead. There are 1,087 days left in the raw deal for one and all of us. Hi, folks. I'm glad you're with us. Rush Limbaugh in New York, where another 1 to 3 inches of snow is expected tonight. This is the strangest winter in New York in the 5 years. This is now going to be the 6th winter that I will have spent here. And I was asking some people yesterday, because this is the worst in the 5 years I've been here. How long has it been since there was a winter like this? And they said you have to go back to the late 70s. And I guess it's just a facet of global warming that is giving us all this ice and snow that's happening here in the north and throughout the country. In fact, this is one of the toughest winters. And if you go to California, you don't chalk it up to winter, but there have just been some strange geological and climatic occurrences. Anyway, my friends, I'm going through the newspapers. We're going to get to the Vince Foster stuff in just a moment. We'll get to it in just a moment because I've got it right here from the New York Post, and it is shocking, eye-opening, and it's exactly what I've been telling you. It's maybe even more than I was alluding to, and the New York Post has it today, and so in mere moments I get to that. But first off, I opened the program today somewhat troubled. I opened the program today a little bit distressed, slightly disturbed, and I tried to take steps to ease my upset this morning, and so far I have not met with success. You will recall that over the past months I have described for you the commitment to excellence that's typified by the coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson. And I have repeated stories that I have heard told by members of the media about Jimmy Johnson's attitude and commitment to excellence that I thought were true. Nobody ever denied any of these stories, including the coach. So I just assumed they were true, and I never, ever, in the process of telling these stories, at least in my mind, or in my memory, I never intended to be insulting toward Coach Johnson, nor was I attempting to impugn him. I simply was describing for you the degree of commitment he has to what he does as coach of the Cowboys. And one of the stories, and I'm sure you've heard this, last year's Super Bowl was in Pasadena, California. And the story went that Jimmy Johnson did not want to be bothered or distracted by the presence of family members, including his parents. So he called them up and said, I don't want you coming. I don't have time to spend with you here. I'm here to work. I'm going to be 100% devoted and focused on the game. I don't want to have to worry about your whereabouts or you getting around. I don't have to worry about your tickets. I don't have to worry about whether you're having a good time or any of that. So I'm going to send you a big screen TV, watch the game on TV, and I'll call you when the game's over. Everybody was telling that story, and nobody denied the story, including Coach Jimmy Johnson. And again, I reiterate that I simply was passing the story along because I somehow can relate to that. You know, when I get focused on something, I don't want any distractions. I don't care from who. I just want to be able to concentrate entirely on what I am there to do, whatever it might be. And I remember also in context of this story, I would relate what it was like when I worked for the Kansas City Royals from 1979 to 1983, and then a couple of years before that, I did some work during the baseball playoffs, and I always felt so sorry for the players because you make the playoffs, and here comes everybody they know or don't know, claiming they're a friend from days gone by. Hey, can you get me a couple of tickets? Hey, can I stay at your house when playoffs start? Hey, man, I'd love to take you out to dinner. And the players all get distracted. And I've heard many of them, in varying degrees, complain about it. So I understood what Jimmy Johnson meant. There's also a story that I have later found to be not true, that in fact I was talking about it to some people last night, that when Jimmy Johnson left the University of Miami to go to the Dallas Cowboys, as the story went, he told his wife, all right, I've had enough of you. I'm going to be totally focused on football. I don't want to be married anymore. You stay here or go wherever you want to go, but our marriage is over. And it turns out that story is not true. That story has been denied. So with all of that, now you have that in context, I open the sports section of USA Today. Headline, Johnson's mom turns down invite. And here is the first paragraph of the story. Aline Johnson would like NBC and Rush Limbaugh, among others, to know that her son Jimmy has again invited his parents to attend a Super Bowl. Quote, I'd like to get the facts straight before they start putting out wrong information like they did last year. I'm still upset over the way they talked about Jimmy not letting his parents come to the game. Jimmy had the tickets, the hotel reservations, everything. We told him we were going to come, but I have arthritic knees, and I just didn't feel up to doing all the walking. My husband and I decided we'd enjoy the game more watching it at home. Johnson's mother was so upset at Limbaugh last year for things that he said about her son that she tried to call his show several times. She was never able to get through. I was pretty upset with those guys on NBC, too, she said. Our friends in Port Arthur knew what they were saying wasn't true, but there were millions of people thinking bad things about Jimmy because of what they said. Jimmy is very considerate of us. We went to the Super Bowl, or to the Sugar Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl when he was coaching at Miami. He's so busy he doesn't have time to entertain us at big games, but he's never not wanted us to be there. Well, I read this and I said, well, I feel bad. Hey, I have a mother too. And I would be terribly distressed if things were being said about my treatment of my mother that weren't true. But I never heard any of this denied. And once again, I reiterate that I was simply pointing this out, not as a, hey, is this Jimmy Johnson a mean son, but rather, look at this guy's commitment to what he's doing, and that I could totally understand it. So this morning, I called Tyler Cox, who's the operations director at our Dallas affiliate, Fort Worth Dallas Metroplex affiliate, WBAP. I said, hey, you got some people in Atlanta that are covering the game for you? He said, yeah. I said, would you get hold of these guys and see if you can find out how to get hold of Jimmy Johnson's mother, because I want to call her and apologize. Because all it says here is Aline Johnson, and it mentions Port Arthur, but I'm not even sure that's where they live. There was no way I could find a phone number calling directory assistance. I don't even know if the number is listed. So Tyler said, I got hold of them. I've got my people down there trying to get hold of the Cowboys. And I said, look, you get hold of them. Tell them this. Tell them if they don't want to give her phone number out, you give them my phone number and ask her to call here. Call collect if necessary, so that I can apologize. I wanted to do this off the air. Didn't want to make a big to-do about it. And I never heard. The show has now begun, and I have not yet heard from Jimmy Johnson's mother or any of Tyler Cox's people in Atlanta that are covering the game. So let me take the occasion here of the opening of the program to once again say to Mrs. Johnson that I feel very bad that I was wrong about this. I always feel bad when I'm wrong about something, especially as personal as this. And I wish somebody had called and denied this to me long ago. Nobody ever did, particularly the coach. At least if there were denials, there's people saying, hey, this wasn't true, this is bogus. I never heard about it. So to the parents of Jimmy Johnson, coach of the Dallas Cowboys, you have my utmost apologies and my heartfelt apologies here for mischaracterizing the intention of your son. I admire your son. In fact, Jimmy Johnson was interviewed last night on, what was ESPN Roy Firestone's show? I thought it was the best I'd ever seen Jimmy Johnson. He was calm. He was totally in control, very confident, and he's somebody that more and more people are beginning to admire, precisely because of his commitment to excellence. All Jimmy Johnson is trying to do, it's all he's ever tried to do, is be the best at what he does. He's probably the kind of guy who enjoys the process of getting to the top more than he enjoys staying there once he gets there. There's stories all over USA Today about how the owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, is not going to let Jimmy Jones quit coaching. If he quits coaching, he can't coach anywhere else. So, I mean, he's established his reputation, and the story just seemed to fit in the context of what I understand because of the experiences I've had in my own life about Coach Johnson's commitment and an absolute dedication single-mindedly to what he wants to do. In fact, you know, it opens up an entire area of discussion. You look out across America, and I've had this conflict, I must tell you. If you do a study of some of the nation's highest paid and most successful chief executives at medium-sized and large corporations, you find surprising things. You find people who have been married to one woman, have had one wife throughout their careers. They have children. They are regular churchgoers. They attend church in their neighborhood. Their wives are generally very much involved in the community. They have raised their families successfully, which all of that contradicts what most people think about the successful man or the successful executive, and that is that he is selfish, self-minded, self-absorbed. You've heard the old lament. As is been happening to Dick Tracy now. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Dick Tracy's wife is going to divorce him because he's never home anymore. He's always out fighting crime. That's the lament that we hear about most people, is that husbands get so concerned with their work that they never pay attention to their wives or anything else. And I've seen examples of both. And the more responsibilities you take on, and I've tried to tell you people what coaching and playing football is really like at the professional level. I mean, it is a 24-hour job, 24-hour commitment. It's just the way it is. And your mindset in order to be a champion and be successful in football, I think, is unlike any other sport. But you have to have played it or been close to it to understand it. You can't just be a Sunday afternoon fan and understand why it is that coaches sleep on cots 4 nights a week in their offices and never go home. You can't understand why it is that during the when Joe Gibbs, for example, of the Redskins announces his retirement, he says, "I woke up one day and my son was 17 and I've never seen him play football." You don't understand that unless you've been real close to I understood all of this about Jimmy Johnson and the need for it. So I was, and I don't want to make too big a deal about this, but I have a mother. I know how mothers feel when things are said about their sons which are total distortions and not true. So to Aline Johnson, please take me off your bad list. I'm sorry that I was ever there. We'll take a break. When we come back, the death of Vince Foster. Note that I did not say the suicide of Vince Foster, and it's from today's. Have you seen it, Snerdley? Have you seen the New York Post today? I can't believe it. This is the most incredible news of the day in New York. Wait till you hear this. This is absolutely incredible. We'll be back after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Well, the February issue of the Limbaugh Letter is in the mail, and it is a great one. It's the special State of the Union issue, and you have to see the cover. It's an extreme close-up of me showing my reaction to the events which have occurred since the Clintons moved into the White House. And the information inside this issue is indispensable. First, you get the facts on the White Watergate affair. Researchers from the Limbaugh Institute have put together the chronology of events and the list of the key players and the key details. Keep track of key questions in this controversy to see if the Clintons ever answer them. And then there's a commentary on the frightening disarming of America. You have to read this. And this month's collection of stupid quotes. We got some great ones from Ted Kennedy and the Reverend Jax. Call 1-800-457-4141. You get a year, 12 issues, for the low rate of $29.95. And if you order now, you still receive free my official 1994 Rush poster calendar. Get a subscription now. Call 800-457-4141. Make that call.
If you're depending on plain old gas line antifreeze to get started this winter, that's okay. But if you look further down the road, you'll use STP gas treatment. Regular use helps prevent gas line freeze and helps keep your entire fuel system clean, responsive, dependable. After all, why get started when a dirty fuel system could make the road ahead rough? STP gas treatment. Drive a better car.
What are your New Year's resolutions?
Lose 10 pounds, run a marathon, plan my retirement, start an herb garden, and learn Spanish.
That's a lot of work.
Piece of cake. I sent for National Dynamic speed tapes and their free cassette player. Listen to the tapes for 20 minutes a day. In a month, you'll speak and understand Spanish, French, German, Italian, or Japanese.
What about your other resolutions?
Well, I'll get to them later.
Start 1994 off right. Call National Dynamics at 1-800-545-1985 today.
Did I mention paint the house?
1-800-545-1985.
It's Bonus Bucks time at Sears, and that means great deals on a huge selection of furniture, even if it's already on sale. Because right now, you can take $20 to $150 off regular and sale price furniture and mattresses when you spend $199 or more. Like the Spring Air Dreamer queen size mattress set, sale price at $299.99, now just $279.99 with Bonus Bucks. Sale ends Tuesday at Sears Home Life Furniture and some Sears stores.
You can count on me, Sears Robot Company.
What do parents say about Shriners Hospitals?
The number one thing with the Shrine is the kids. And when you're talking about your child that's handicapped, there's just no words for what they've done. There's no words.
I can't express my feelings enough, thank them enough for what they did. They gave me my baby back.
Oh, I would just say thank you, and thank God I found you. I really would have liked to have found him 2 weeks after my son had his accident, but just thank you and thank God.
I want to say thank you to the Shriners, and someday I hope that I can help somebody the same way that they've helped me.
Shriners Hospitals, providing free expert medical care to children with orthopedic and burn problems. For information, call 1-800-237-5055.
1-800-282-2882. This is Rush Limbaugh on the cutting edge of societal evolution, demonstrating again why in this next segment. I, for one, ladies and gentlemen, have never, just as I never, ever bought the notion that Ross Perot spontaneously decided to run for president one night on Larry King Live on CNN. Not for 1 minute did I buy that. When I heard that Vince Foster committed suicide in a park that nobody goes to in Washington, D.C., and then when I heard that there was a suicide note ripped into 28 pieces and that they only found 27, I was never, ever fully and totally convinced that it was a suicide. And I tiptoed around it. I danced around it very artfully and very, very, very carefully, because nevertheless, we're still dealing with a very traumatic event for the people involved. And I have never been one to deal here in innuendo and to spread literal rumor around. In fact, you will recall that it was only within the past 2 weeks that I was sitting here somewhat tormented and tortured, much like the self-portrait that Vincent van Gogh did of himself. I was very tortured and I was very tormented because I've been hearing all of these things about the condition of the scene of the crime, or the scene of the suicide, whichever, that didn't wash, that didn't make sense, that didn't have any of the consistencies that experiences has taught forensic investigators are present when a suicide has taken place. And I didn't want to divulge any of these rumors because to that point I'd not considered any of the people telling me these stories to have any corroboration. So I've been patiently waiting, and you know that when we talk about the White Watergate scandal, I have always said, if you just focus on the death of Vince Foster, you'll have every question answered. If we can ever find out what really happened with Vince Foster, then all the rest of the blinds come off, and people will be able to see what this thing's really all about. Well, I get up today, I get in here, and after reading this stuff about Jimmy Johnson's mom not liking me, I then go to the other papers, and there it is in the New York Post. They have engaged in their own investigation, and they've published the results today. The headline of the story is "Doubts Raised Over Foster's Suicide." Why was he still holding the gun? Why was there so little blood? They have an artist's rendering of the crime scene. Let me describe this to you. I wish we were doing television today so I could show this to you. We'll have to wait till next week. Basically, Vince Foster's body was found lying as though he were in a casket. His arms were straight at his side. His legs were straight. He was on his back on the side of a hill. In his hand was the 9mm gun that was used to kill him. The gun was still in his hand. His hand was gripped around the handle of the gun. The barrel pointed perfectly perpendicular to his legs. He shot himself in the mouth, according to the forensic people who first arrived on the scene. Now, I don't want to get too graphic here, but all forensics people that have been quoted in the the New York Post story all say that in this case, or cases like this, that the gun is found at least 20 feet away because of the contortions the body goes through after being shot. That it would be veritably impossible for someone to shoot themselves in the mouth and for there just to be a trickle of blood coming out one of the corners of the mouth, which what they found in Vince Foster, and then to be able, after shooting yourself in the mouth, to then take your arm, gun still in hand, and lower it to your side and either lay down, or if you're already laying down when you shoot yourself, which isn't the case because then they'd find the gun or the bullet somewhere buried in the ground underneath the body. They have not found the bullet, by the way, that was fired from this gun. Also, if you shoot yourself in the mouth, there's nothing clean about it. I don't want to get much more graphic than that, but let's just say that there's a mess, and there was no mess here. There was a trickle of blood. Now, they've said, well, maybe he laid down to shoot himself. Again, or sat up to shoot himself, sat down, still sitting up in a position, and then shot him. But still, if that were the case, Vince Foster, sitting down with his legs straight out, would have to shoot himself in the mouth and still be conscious enough to lay down, extend both arms perfectly straight at his side with the gun still in his hand. The forensics people that the Post talked to said that this is simply not possible. That what the records of the crime scene show is not at all like other suicides or shootings, especially the gun still in the hand. Now, one of the rumors, and this is a good thing that I had held off on, one of the rumors was that the gun did not have his fingerprints on it. That's one of the things I refused to say because I didn't see, nobody else had said that, and I was hearing this from sources that I didn't figure had it corroborated. That element is not present in this story. Now, I've got to take a break here. When we come back, I'll read you some of the quotes. I have summarized basically what the story has. I'll give you some of the quotes of some of the forensics experts and pathologists who were asked about this and their opinions. After this break, don't go away. Hi, Rush Limbaugh here. A major university recently surveyed over 600 employers as to why job applicants do not get hired. Number one reason, poor communication skills. People do judge us by the words we use, and Verbal Advantage, a complete audio cassette vocabulary program, will give you the word power you need to communicate with authority and flair. To learn more, call now, 1-800-28-TAPES. That's 800-28-TAPES.
Okay, guys, we're going to practice our home fire escape plan again.
This is WGBR News, Goldsboro's very own.
This is Wayne Alley. Homeowners and businesses on Imperial Drive in Goldsboro have been assured by State Department of Transportation officials that it's not intended to close Imperial Drive when they build an overpass on Spence Avenue across Highway 70. One businessman said, "We're just happy they're not going to close it." A speed ramp will be built to come off Highway 70 down by Walmart to give motorists access off Spence Avenue. It will come down to 70 going east. Property owners were told the anxiety or concern is that motorists merging and turning off at the same time pose somewhat of a hazard. That's the reason for the decision. Frank Tillman of Fremont Motors said everyone favored moving the access road to a service road a quarter of a mile away, and all were happy they're going to continue to have access at the new location between the Mazda dealership and the Irish Inn. Construction of the overpass on Spence Avenue across Highway 70 is scheduled to begin by this fall. Wayne Sheriff's officers responded to Highway 222 North yesterday in response to a break-in in progress and found property owner James Williams detaining two suspects. 18-year-old Jimmy Earl Ellis of Wilson and 25-year-old Jesse Ray Whitted of Route 3 Wilson were charged with breaking, entering, and larceny and placed under $10,000 bonds. Wilson told officers he noticed a small white car backed up to his garage as he was returning home. When he approached the two suspects, he said they told him they'd put the stuff back. Mike Gurley stayed with the suspects while Williams checked out his house and barns and got the assistance of deputies. The study of materials stored at Security Mayflower, prompted by city council members because of rumors, is about completed. Goldsboro planner Gene Thomas indicates they found nothing of a hazardous nature.
Information that I have obtained, Bill, indicates that the storage at the security facility is basically agricultural chemicals. It's a distribution center for your major chemical manufacturers. There are no radioactive materials stored. There was no mention made of any explosive type of materials.
Goldsboro City Planner Gene Thomas. Goldsboro police officer Philip Oxendine resigned from the police department this morning following his arrest on 2 counts of obtaining a controlled substance by way of a forged prescription. Oxendine's been on administrative duty with pay while the SBI investigated the allegation. Oxendine had been on the police force more than 5 years. I'm Wayne Alley.
We're the talk of the town, 1150 WGBR.
American Lung Association this holiday season, because when you can't breathe, nothing else matters.
On the cutting edge of societal evolution, Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network is on the air. A relentless pursuit of the truth is our daily objective, and so we continue. The New York Post talked to several people who were present at the suicide scene of Vince Foster. Fairfax County paramedic George Gonzalez, who says he was the first rescue worker to see Foster's body last July 20th, told the New York Post that he found several things about the death scene strange. For one thing, Foster's body was laid out perfectly, as if in a coffin. I found it peculiar, he said. Every extremity of his body was straight, as if it was ready for the coffin. Gonzalez has been a paramedic for 13 years. He's seen a lot of these kinds of things. He said a .38 caliber Colt revolver was in Foster's right hand, even though experts say handguns used in suicides often are catapulted up to 20 feet away from a body. He said Foster's arms were resting perfectly straight alongside his body. Gonzalez also said he was surprised to find so little blood at the death scene of someone who appeared to have placed a .38 in his mouth and pulled a trigger. Quote, the face was white and pale, and only a thin trickle of blood oozed from one corner of his mouth. Usually, a suicide by gunshot is a mess. Corey Ashford, an emergency services technician who helped put Foster's body into the body bag, also said he does not remember seeing any blood. I can't even recall an exit wound, Ashford said, explaining that typically there would be a mess under the victim's head. Park policeman Kevin Thornshill, the first police officer at the scene, said everything, including Foster's white shirt, was really neat. No blood on it. The apparent contradictions, a scarcity of blood and a death involving a gunshot wound to the head, raised the possibility that Foster may have been killed elsewhere and that his body was dumped in the park, according to homicide experts contacted by the New York Post. The pathologist who conducted the autopsy said the wound had been self-inflicted but the autopsy results have not been made public. The results are going to be sent to the White Watergate Special Prosecutor Robert Fisk, who will look into Foster's death as part of his investigation. Now, another key question involves the gun. Gonzalez says that he remembers looking carefully at Foster's hand. His hand was wrapped around the grip of the gun, he said. The fingers were cyanotic, or pooling blood, which is an indication of death. He said the barrel of the gun was perfectly perpendicular to Foster's leg. His account of the positioning and condition of Foster's body was corroborated by other witnesses who examined the body and the scene. 2 witnesses said the first cops who came upon Foster's body took a cursory look at the crime scene and declared the White House official an apparent suicide. They saw the gun and said they may have made a snap decision. The Post then decided to take Gonzalez's detailed observations to a medical examiner and several present and former New York City homicide investigators. They said they would not have been so quick to come to a conclusion about Foster's death because killers often try to make murders look like suicides. You treat it as a homicide, particularly if it's a VIP like this case, until you can prove otherwise, said a New York City detective with more than 20 years' experience with homicides. Gonzalez and a law enforcement official described the gun as clean. The experts also said it was highly unusual that Foster was clutching the gun, which he was. It'd be very difficult to shoot yourself and still remain conscious to hold tightly to the gun. Quote, in my 30 years in dealing with homicides, I've never seen someone shoot themselves in the mouth and still hold the gun perfectly at his side. That from a retired detective who spent most of his career investigating murders. A prominent forensic pathologist added, quote, normally when a person commits suicide, the gun doesn't end up in their hand. If the individual is gripping the gun, that would lead to thinking that possibly someone put the gun in his hand. Also questioning the position of the gun was Vernon Gaberth, a former city detective in New York who wrote a nationally recognized homicide investigation textbook. Quote, under ordinary circumstances, after the firing, the gun is away from the person. Although he did acknowledge there are rare instances when the gun does remain in the suicide's hand. Experts said a suicide gun can end up 20 feet away, thrown by a reflex action of the person committing suicide. Witnesses surmised that Foster was sitting or lying in the park when the fatal shot was fired. It's hard to explain how he shot himself, putting the barrel in at a right angle to his arm, and fired it, and had it land still in his hand at his side. Forensic experts and homicide detectives said the key to answering many questions could be found in the bullet if the cops ever find it. Haven't found the bullet. They called the White House. The White House did not respond to several requests for comment. So, published reports have now opened the door on speculation here regarding the death of Vince Foster. Quick change of pace here and subject, because this goes hand in hand with some recent news. I have 2 stories here, one from Frederick, Maryland, the other one Seoul, South Korea. First, Seoul, South Korea. Man died after being found with his penis cut off, groaning in front of a motel in a provincial South Korean city. This according to the police yesterday. A newspaper there said it appeared Bobbitt syndrome had come to Korea and warned that it could be the dawn of an age of reckoning for men in what is a male-dominated society in South Korea. Then this story in Frederick, Maryland. The headline here, Frederick County woman charged in killing. Woman tells Maryland State Police she followed the recent Lorena Bobbitt case. Maryland State Police say a Frederick County woman who followed the recent Lorena Bobbitt case shot her husband to death Monday because he allegedly abused her for years. Gypsy Rosalie Dronberg, 43, has been charged with murder in the death of John Thomas Dronberg Sr., 46. He was being held, or she's being held, on $100,000 bond this morning in the Frederick County Adult Detention Center. They've been married 27 years. She put a .22 caliber semi-automatic handgun to her husband's head and fired as he dressed in their bedroom about 4:30 in the morning. Trooper First Class Gary Bachtel said Dronberg reported the death as a suicide, and thought police would believe the story because her husband's father and brother had killed themselves. But Dronberg later told police she had killed her husband because he had abused her physically and verbally during their marriage, including 2 incidents in the hours before the shooting. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It is not surprising that these kinds of things happen when you have a case such as Lorena Bobbitt being championed by feminist groups, making her the Image Award winner so far for 1994, and suggesting this. When you legalize revenge in court, when you suggest that there is a reason for taking the law into your own hands and that you can get away with it, there is no question that this kind of thing is going to follow suit. Now, we don't know what this woman was watching on television. We don't know what kind of violence that might have been on TV inspired her to do this, but we do know that she's admitted that she followed the recent Lorena Bobbitt case, and whatever happened there offered a catalyst for her to go ahead and shoot her husband at 4:30 in the morning because he had abused her. So it's open season on men. We'll be back after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Imagine meeting 50 people and remembering all their names, having a photographic memory and recalling virtually everything you see, hear, or even think about. Kevin Trudeau, founder of the American Memory Institute, brings you the easy-to-learn Mega Memory. Increase your own memory 500% or more guaranteed. As seen on TV, over 1 million people now benefit from the Mega Memory Home Study Course. Call 1-800-862-MEGA today and receive a 50% discount. That's 1-800-862-MEGA, 1-800-862-MEGA.
Let me tell you about Ginsana, the energizing product. Ginsana is the first standardized ginseng extract scientifically tested for 25 years. If you get tired easily, if you've lost your competitive edge, take Ginsana. All-natural Ginsana. It's energizing America. Ginsana from SunSource Health Products. Products that work naturally. For a free brochure, call 800-777-2000. 800-777-2000.
Ginsana. Ginsana. Ginsana.
Hey, I'm Willard Scott, and you know, Knowles Carpet has been serving Goldsboro and Wayne County for over 45 years with quality installation of carpet and floor covering. Family dedication to this business has been enjoyed by thousands of customers. Joining Carpet One 5 years ago gave Knowles Carpet the additional buying power of 450 other stores to bring you the best prices available. Put it all together, and it means quality floor covering and expert installation by a truly family-dedicated business. Knowles Carpet, your Carpet One store, 2311 Wayne Memorial Drive, Goldsboro.
When you're just starting out, you need someone who is going to be there for all your insurance needs. Car, home, life, and health. That's why so many young families look to State Farm agent Greg Foster at 908 East Ash Street, Goldsboro. He can answer your questions and help make sure you have the right insurance coverage at the right price. So see State Farm agent Greg Foster at 908 East Ash Street, Goldsboro today for any questions you have about insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hungry for lunch? Well, you need to head to Western Steer. Enjoy the daily lunch specials Monday through Friday from 11 to 4, starting at only $1.99. Western Steer's hamburger steak with baked potato or fries, toast, and a trip to the bakery is only $1.99. Western Steer also has other fine lunches and mouth-watering steaks that will make you come back for more. So when your stomach is growling and you're ready for lunch, come to Western Steer, located on Berkeley Boulevard across from Sears in Goldsboro.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Beat. We're here with Frank Marshall, provider, keeper of all knowledge, the strength of society, in short, a man. Hi. Frank, the pressure. You've got to be Mr. Fix-It, bringing home the bacon, nurturing the youngins, as well as knowing all the capital cities of countries in the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, it is a big job.
It's a tough job, Frank. Tell us how you do it.
Well, I just try to stay loose. Take it one day at a time. Right. Try not to get overconfident.
I've got it, Frank.
Cover all the bases, stay on your toes, wear the right clothes.
Right. Being a man. A tough job, a big job, a changing job. From the Mennonite churches.
America's vital national interest, me. This is Rush Limbaugh, your one-man think tank, the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Now, a lot of people, I know what you're probably thinking out there. Rush, would you tell me, how come it's easy for you to say 6 months after the fact, 7 months after the fact, that you never bought the Suicide Story? Why, Rush, did you never buy it? Just like, why did you never buy the fact that Perot just happened to spontaneously decide on a spur of the moment that a cable TV should have run for president? I never bought that. Because, my friends, I didn't buy the most popularly viewed reason for his suicide, the Wall Street Journal editorial page. when everybody started talking that he did himself in because he couldn't deal with the pressure of the Wall Street Journal editorial page. And then the media started running around saying, oh, well, you know, maybe we're just being too hard on people in this town. Maybe we've got to back off. I cringed. That's not, this guy, you look at his past, he didn't have any reason to kill himself because of that. Just the reasons that were brought forth didn't wash, and the reaction of so-called close friends, it just didn't seem right. I don't know why. Who can explain their instincts? I'm just telling you that it just didn't feel right. Now you have a situation. Now that the New York Post has done this, we have to hold out the possibility too that the Post is wrong. I mean, they've gone out and just talked